Hello everyone, Ferrari601 here, making my official Assetto Corsa debut. I know I've put up a couple of teaser videos of Assetto Corsa in the last couple of days, however, officially Ferrari601 is Assetto Corsa Online. I've had to play around with some different capture programs in order to make sure that I get a good capture with minimal loss of frame rate, and of course a whole bunch of system settings to make this work. However, here we are in Assetto Corsa. What I want to do today is give you a brief look around at Assetto Corsa, the menus, all of those things, give you an idea of what the game entails. It's not a full game at the moment. It is this version is the Steam Early Access version, so there are plenty of features which have yet to be implemented here in this game. However, the features that do exist are quite spectacular, I must say. By far the most popular racing sim, at least in my view, still rFactor. The vast majority of my videos, of course, are all rFactor, and I love rFactor. It's a great sim, to be honest. Great physics, great content with the still vivacious modding community which still exists out there. However, Assetto Corsa, and of course Project Cars, and iRacing, really, they, in my opinion, those three games, particularly iRacing, are the ones that are going to be defining the next generation of sim racing. In any event, Assetto Corsa. First of all, I see a lot of videos online about Assetto Corsa, and nobody ever talks about what the title of the game actually means. Obviously, it's Italian. Cuno Simulazioni, of course, is an Italian developer. However, what does Assetto Corsa mean in English? Well, it's a little ambiguous, and of course any Italian speakers out there, feel free to contribute. Corsa, obviously that's simple. Corsa means race. Assetto, however, looks like we have a little bit of a false cognate with the English asset. It does not mean asset, at least in the traditional sense. Assetto, according to wordreference.com, obviously it's a masculine noun, singular. However, I see three possible definitions. So it could refer to an arrangement, a layout, some sort of structure, order, equipment or gear, gear as in equipment, not gear as in a component of a machine. And in terms of vehicular usage, it can mean distribution or balance. Distribution, particularly of components, or it can even refer to ballast on a ship, or in this case, of course, a car. So, very loosely translated, it appears to me that Assetto Corsa literally means race gear. So, the equipment of racing. And of course, Italian speakers, please feel free to opine. In any event, when you launch the game and you click main menu, this is what you will see. Comes up with your driver name and news streaming off of Steam and the Assetto Corsa official update feed. You can see your stats. So of course these are your personal stats. You can see the last event that you participated in the game, and your last personal best lap, and you can see the car and the track that was set on. And of course, if I had started the career mode, you would see my career stats there. Your favorite car and track combinations, of course, I'm basically just practicing for the moment. So we have La Ferrari at Monza, we have the Ferrari 312T at Monza, and the Lotus 98T at Monza. Of course, I like Monza very much. And Assetto Corsa channel, this is the YouTube channel, I believe. Yes, and then you can see different videos pertaining to the game. So the first tab up here, Drive, Practice, Race, Multiplayer, More. Click on that, and you get this menu here, allowing you to change your race modes. So you have Practice, Challenges, which actually, are they implemented? Yes, they are implemented. So Practice, Challenges, Race, Online, and of course your favorite car track combinations. So in the Practice mode, this gives you free reign over any car you want, any track you want. And for example, You can change your time of day between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., so no night driving as of yet. Your ambient temperature from 36°C all the way down to 10°C, so that's a rather large temperature range. So we're going from about 50 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to about 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Time multiplier, so you can decide how quickly the time passes you by throughout your session. And your track surface goes from dusty, old, slow, green, and fast and optimum. So obviously dusty being the worst condition, so this is what a track would be like, say, if it hadn't been driven on in many, many months. And optimum meaning that there were just a whole bunch of cars doing a whole bunch of fast laps mere minutes ago, meaning that it's fully rubbered in and very grippy. Turn your penalties on and off. For practice, penalties are just these annoying things that when you, even if you seem to clip a curb a little bit too aggressively, it'll make you slow down to, I don't know, 50k or something like that for a set time. I think it's 5 seconds or so. But it's just annoying. I turn them off whenever I'm just practicing. Track selection. 1,400 meter drag strips, a drift course, Imola, Monza. In the race mode, there is 1966 version of Monza, which is a lot of fun. No banking, however. And Magione, which is another circuit in Italy. The summary tab just reiterates all of the information about your session, and you can still change your settings here if you wish. And the car selection screen. Yes, I love the selection of cars that is currently in Assetto Corsa. Let's start with Fiat. The Abarth, of course. Abarth 500 SS. I've not driven all of the cars in the game, including that Fiat, but the Alfa Giulietta Quattro Valvole, nothing there. BMW. Ferrari, of course, the 312T, the 1976 Formula One car, I believe. Yes. Niki Lauda driven. 458, the 458 GT2, the 599XX Evo, the F40, and La Ferrari, of course. Back to the car select screen. KTM Crossbow, the fun little car. Lotus, whole bunch of Elise versions, GTC, GX, Exige, Evora, and then you go here, you have the Exige V6 Cup, and then you have the Exos 125. It's, the Lotus Exos is the car that they put out a couple of years ago to the mega rich people who think that they're Formula One drivers. It's basically a GP2 car, for those of you familiar with the GP2 series. In Assetto Corsa, it can be updated basically to Formula 1 spec in terms of the engine and drivetrain. However, it's still quite far off the pace in terms of a modern Formula 1 car. Back to the car select screen just to fill out the rest. Classic Team Lotus, the Lotus 49, and the 98T. These are two Formula 1 cars of yesteryear. They're both a hell of a lot of fun to drive for all kinds of different reasons. The Lotus 49 is like writing poetry on four wheels, and the 98T is what you drive when you are feeling bored and you want something to be exciting. 1,200 horsepower at full boost. Yeah. McLaren, you have the MP4 12C and the 12C GT3. Mercedes, the SLS and the SLS GT3, both stalwart cars. P45 Competizione. The Ferrari P45 in its GT spec. Oopsies, did not mean to do that. But yeah, you can have a look. See the P45. Pagani, we have the Huayra and the Zonda R. Again, two fantastic cars. Every car in this game is brilliant in some way or another. So, yes, kudos to Kunos for their selections. Shelby Cover 427. It's American classic. It's probably one of the better cars that the United States ever designed in terms of racing. However, the 4-speed gearbox does hamper it. But America, yeah, we only need 4 gears. Ooh. Okay, whatever. And then the Formula Abarth, which is basically like a Formula Renault car. Or a Formula Renault, Formula 2. That's the comparative power and characteristic that we're talking about with this car here. And I don't know which models they're going to include, but as you can see, coming soon we have Audi, Nissan Roof, and Toyota. So that should be interesting. So that's the Drive tab. The Career tab, obviously, it only appears if you're ready to start a career. I haven't done it. So, yeah. Replay, if you've saved replays, as I have, you can access them here and watch them all over again and admire your skills, or hunker down in embarrassment over your mistakes. Options, this is where the fun really starts. Obviously, here are all of your display options. Effects, so again, most of your displays and rendering. Views, same sort of thing. Your field of view, your left-right glancing, G-force effects, camera shake. You can use imperial or metric units for your speed and distance and what have you. Reflections, blah blah blah. Audio settings. Controls, here's where we can have some fun. It has a whole bunch of presets for all of these fantastic wheels. We've got Fanatec, Logitech, and Thrustmaster. And of course your Xbox 360 controller is also supported. I'm using a Logitech G27 with the 8-shifter and the stock pedals. So you can set your steering and throttle, brake, clutch, and handbrake axes. If you do have an analog handbrake, I just use a button for the handbrake because I hardly ever use the handbrake. Shifters, you can select your individual gear settings and your secondary functions, so your brake balance, KERS, and DRS in the cars in which is applicable, handbrake, headlights, and horn I just reserve for the keyboard. And your advanced functions, of course, this is your 4-speed back steering and pedal settings. Again, they all get really complicated, and once you get them to where you like them, you really never touch them again. So again, all of this can really fine-tune everything to your tastes. So you can spend a lot of time just fiddling around with these settings and seeing what works best for you. I personally prefer to just set them once, feel it out. If it feels okay, then I keep doing it. Profile settings is all of your personal information. I'm not from Afghanistan, but I'm going to say that I am, so that's fine. And your general settings. Obviously, language, English. You have German, French, English, Spanish, and Italian as your available languages. Your maximum replay file size, all of that. The replays are at full game resolution, so you can decide how much space you want to allocate for your replays. Up to 500 megabytes. Goes from 10 to 500 megabytes. So I'll just make a worthy compromise. You know, you get this nice little warning, might result in high memory usage. Whatever. And, of course, your exit tab there at the bottom. So yes, that's just an introduction to the menus available in Assetto Corsa in the main screen. And now I'm going to do a little bit of a review of a car or two for you, just to give you a sense. There are a lot of cars, obviously, in the game here. They all are. I've not driven all of them by any means. However, I've driven the highlights, obviously, all of the Ferraris, the Paganis, the Lotus 125, and both Lotus Formula 1 cars. So in any event, we'll be back and we'll do a review of a car. I haven't decided which one yet, although it's probably going to be La Ferrari, so we'll do a jump cut and we'll be back. Welcome back and welcome aboard La Ferrari. We are here at Monza, and I just want to give you a brief overview of the car and what it can do, and most importantly though, in case you're unfamiliar with Assetto Corsa, what it feels like. If you are an experienced sim racer, I am definitely trying to cater to you because you have a good frame of reference in terms of what to expect. So I'm going to be using that sort of terminology and appealing to your experience to explain this to you as cogently and as briefly as I can. So I'm using no assists. I've got my Logitech G27. With the stock pedals, I'm running full 900-degree rotation. So in any event, your pit lane speed limiter is automatic for all cars in the game. It's like 80k or something like that. 7 speeds in La Ferrari. Obviously all done with the paddles. Running the option for the intermediate race tire. So the car will be a little bit grippier than it is with the stock road tire. You can see that the speed builds very quickly in this car. As I mentioned before, no assists. This is pure Assetto Corsa physics going on right here, right now. In terms of a sim racing experience, I have to say that the feeling of driving Assetto Corsa is probably most comparable to iRacing in terms of the sims that I have sampled. You get the sense from the physics in Assetto Corsa that you have total confidence and absolute knowledge of where all 4 corners of this car are at all times. And this is really reinforced through the visuals, the sounds, and probably most importantly through the force feedback that you get through the steering wheel. On my Logitech G27, which already is about 9 years old and rather heavily used, I still get great sensations from the force feedback. I have everything at 100%. The curb effects are absolutely splendid. I know when I've hit a curb and when I haven't. The effect under braking that you get, a little bit of side-to-side vibration, is superb. When the rear end brakes traction, you feel that vibration as well. It's, when the back end steps out, you feel the car get light. And all of that really does go a long way in helping you keep whatever beast you are trying to tame online in the direction that you are willing it to travel. La Ferrari is biased a little bit toward understeer, as you saw there through Parabolica, but nothing too unmanageable. And in case it's a little bit difficult for you to see the gauge cluster on the final video, because I do lose a little bit of resolution when I do my processing, the gauge cluster is fully legible and functional. The most important gauge on it, of course, is the tach, but the speedometer is legible if you look at it hard enough. So the distance between your eye point and the speedometer makes it a little bit more challenging to read, but it is perfectly legible. The big milestone numbers, 100, 200, 300, etc., are in slightly bigger font, so there goes 200 clicks. And also the gauges on the dashboard to the lower left and upper right respectively, they are your fuel gauge and your battery gauge. They are both functional, and you can see them both updating themselves periodically. Obviously the fuel will run down as you turn more laps in the car, and the battery gauge will deplete as you are accelerating, and it will replenish as you are braking. So through the next couple of acceleration and braking zones, watch the battery gauge. Again, in the upper right, it's the green bar. So yes, you can see that working. Also, the gauge just to the right of the tachometer, the gauge that is blue right now, but in a couple of seconds as I come off the throttle, it turns white. This is your KERS gauge. This tells you whether the KERS is discharging or regenerating. So when it's discharging, it is sending energy into the drivetrain to help propel the car forward. It gets another 160 horsepower boost. And under braking or coasting, it turns white. Harsh on that downshift there. It turns white to show you that you are regenerating energy. Try fourth gear here. I'm not running any ABS or anything. I do find that the brakes on this car are long, so the pedal goes all the way to the floor, and then as you scrub the speed off, you progressively come off the pedal, much like you do in a very aero-dependent car, such as the Lotus 125 in this car, in this game, for example. You would have to do that quite a lot. It's basically the Formula One cadence braking technique. Again, you can apply it in this car to great effect. And as you can see, when the car gets out of shape, just as it did there through the middle of Ascari, it's still very, very, very compliant and rather easy to pull back together. So in a nutshell, that is La Ferrari. I will leave you with a look at the replay of the last two hot laps. And I hope this was somewhat informative, and I am looking to do more reviews of individual cars, more in-depth reviews of individual cars in Assetto Corsa, so if there is a particular car that you'd be interested to have a closer look at, do let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the hot lap replays.